Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Critical Countdown, your last minute Black Friday Cyber Monday checklist webinar with myself, Carla Penkan, the CEO and co founder of Profit Peak, Jess Vassallo, the founder and CEO of Evocative Media, and Kate Massey, the general manager of Athos Commerce. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn with us today. A no fluff checklist every brand should run through the final 30 days. We're in countdown mode. Where to double down and what to drop across paid ads and email and product feeds, how to protect profit, really important when scaling through Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then real examples from brands who nailed it last year, along with quick optimizations you can all implement before go time. As we go along, we don't really have time today for Q&A, but we have shared with you a QR code where you can ask any questions and we will answer them after the webinar. I'd love to hand it over to one of my good friends, Jess, now to talk through with us on paid ads and email, your last minute Black Friday, Cyber Monday checklist. And there's really no one better to help us all with this today.
Thanks, Carla. Hello, everyone. So as Carla said, my name is Jess. I'm the CEO and founder of Evocative Media. Before I go into a bit of an introduction, I did want to talk about the way that we look at Black Friday, Cyber Monday growth. And it really does come down to what we call the big three. So paid social, search, and email. Now, these are the channels that generate the most revenue for our brands. And that's well and truly e-com and retail brands, mid-market to enterprise. Now, I'm going to run through a checklist, the way that we like to prepare and the strategies that we typically execute on for the brands that we work with. So a little bit about us. We're an e-commerce growth specialist agency. We specialize in paid social, search, and email SMS. We're an award-winning agency, not because we paid for these awards, but because it's based on the strategies that we execute for the incredible brands that we truly are so privileged to work with, which you'll see on the right-hand side there. This Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we are on track to spend in the month of November just north of 2 million in ad spend. So we certainly have our work cut out for us, but that is a lot of work across each of these channels, and I'll be diving into why these are so fundamental to your success. Excellent. So when we have a look at the paid ads component, what we really want to look at is a framework of prepare, execution, and optimization. And so for each of these, I'm going to walk you through a checklist, what that looks like. Now, because we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to ask that you take screenshots as we go. I have created a checklist for each. I'm going to touch lightly on each of the components, but please, any of those questions that you might have, please make sure that you submit through that QR code that Carla shared, just so I can answer them post-call. Okay, so we're going to kick off with preparation. Now, if you are not set up already for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're already behind. So if you're not well and truly underway, then you are likely going to spend your Black Friday, Cyber Monday fixing a lot of issues instead of scaling. And this is really where we want brands to be, in a position to scale. So your groundwork and what you do now really, really matters. So the most important part, hands down, and I know this is so basic, but it's incredibly foundational, is just setting your goal. The amount of brands that we work with that are not setting a goal, they're looking at what a competitor's doing. It might be, your competitor might be doing 20% off site wide, and they're like, you know what, we'll remain competitive and we'll just do exactly what the other brand is doing. So they're not actually setting goals based on the objectives and what they're actually wanting to achieve. And so the way that we do this with our clients is we're having a look at what that specific goal is and then aligning the goal with the offer and the strategy. And that's incredibly important. Now, the most common goals that we set for the brands that we work with typically cover new customer acquisition. A very big one is clearing aging inventory, building that customer loyalty, driving revenue and breaking even, and then balancing profit and growth. I know that Carla's going to deep dive into the profitability component, but please just make sure that you're looking at your numbers and working backwards on from what you want to achieve. And it's also really important in terms of the goal that you set. It's the strategy for each of these is fundamentally different. So that's really important to note. Now, from there, we also want to look back at last year's sales and performance data just to identify what worked, what didn't, and which products or channels drove the most amount of growth for the brand. Obviously, that historical data is really important. We want to allow that to inform what we do next. And then also having a look at tracking, segmentation, budgets, all of these things you should be, if you haven't already, this all should be fully defined and set up, ready to go. I'm going to move into the execution phase shortly, which is where a lot of brands are. But one thing I do want to note just in the preparation phase, and I've highlighted this in the checklist, is you need to be building and scheduling all of your campaigns a week before launch. I really want to stay here just for a little bit because we see so many brands get caught in a trap where they're building out campaigns and getting ready to set them live the day before or the day of, and then they get stuck in ad approvals. And so really important just making sure that you're not in that position. Don't risk it. You don't want to delay the start of the launch of any of your campaigns because you're still stuck in preparation phase. Then we move into execution. Now, this is typically where a lot of brands are right now in this execution phase. So you want to make sure that you're getting your audiences, your creatives, and your campaigns ready to go live. Now, we have a lot of brands already in this phase. They're looking at doing things like hype campaigns, lead generation campaigns, building out those lists. This is well and truly already underway for a lot of the brands that we're working with. And I think it goes without saying, and assuming that everyone on here is from an e-commerce brand, that every year it just gets earlier and earlier and earlier. Brands tend to go much earlier every year, but just because it works for one brand doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It's really, really, really important to align everything that you're doing with your numbers as well. A couple of things I want to touch on here. So you want your audience segments to be refreshed. Your product sets should also be structured around those best sellers, best margins, high performing categories. So your budget is going towards those proven winners. You'll also want to make sure you have maximum product availability as well. This is really important. So please do not run ads for out of stock products. We see a lot of brands, unfortunately, land here. None of our clients, but please don't let this be you. It's such a massive waste of budget. Your creative volume, this is, if you take anything away from the execution component, please let it be this, is that your creative volume needs to scale in line with your spend. So most brands completely underestimate how much creative they actually need. Now, as a rule of thumb, the way that we like to look at this as an agency is if you are increasing your budget, say by 20%, then you want to increase your creative output by 20%. So don't expect to go into Black Friday, Cyber Monday with the same amount of creative assets that you've been running BAU, for the last 9-10 months. And then you want to make sure that UTMs, promo codes, and landing pages are all tested and aligned with your offer before you actually launch. One broken link or mismatched message can absolutely kill your conversion. So please just make sure that this is something that you check. And then finally, please do a full walkthrough of the entire customer journey from ad to checkout, just so you can go into Black Friday, Cyber Monday with full confidence that everything is working and performing the way that it should. Now, just on the Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer and further to the execution component where we were talking about the messaging, this is what we see so many brands get wrong. The offer is not aligned with clear and concise messaging. Now, that is incredibly important. You want to make sure that it's really, really easy for your consumers to understand what that offer is. You shouldn't be in a position where, they're trying to calculate, what 20% off layered with a conflicting or stacking offer looks like. And so just make sure that it's very clear and simple. A really good example of clarity around this is 30% off site-wide, ends midnight Monday. Very clear, straightforward. An example of that is what you're seeing on the right-hand side with White Fox Boutique. You can see really, really easy to understand that it's 30% off site-wide. You can see that code. There's, urgency messaging on that as well. And so really clear and simple. I think just one thing to note here as well, And I think we see a lot of brands get stuck here when it comes to those offers. If you haven't tested it previously, don't test it for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We see that this happen a lot with things like spend and saves, or tiered offerings. And so if you haven't actually tested the mechanics of an offer previously, don't use Black Friday, Cyber Monday to test it. So that's just really important to know. I've got a checklist there, so just I would recommend taking a screenshot of that. But just clear, concise messaging across the board is really, really important. And then as we move on, another important point, and I think brands tend to forget this, that keeping those BAU campaigns live and running is really important. Now, the caveat to this is that you want to actually keep those prospecting BAU campaigns live and active during the sale. And so we don't want to turn these off, because these are existing ads. They'll likely have lower CPMs, which is obviously one of the biggest challenges that we see across Black Friday, Cyber Monday, as costs increase. And so keeping those BAU campaigns active, really important, but please make sure that you're assessing all active BAU campaigns and you don't have any conflicting offers. So it has to be relevant and prospecting and top of funnel only.
I think, yeah, it is, because it's not the same as the chargers.
And then as we move on, looking at that creative component, and really looking at ensuring that you are creating more shoppable campaigns and really leveraging the platform for that. So you're seeing on the right-hand side an example there of a meta ad campaign, and what we're using here, products within the ad itself, and then also site links. And so this is really, really important to ensure that you are actually creating more shoppable campaigns. And so that doesn't just apply. We often talk about that on the email front. It certainly applies when it comes to paid ads as well. So look at leveraging the platform's existing shoppable features and really lean into that. If you haven't tested it before, I'm hoping that everyone on this call has already done adequate testing. You already have your offers well and truly mapped out. Your budgets have been allocated. You know what you're doing. But if you haven't, and you're not in that position, then please reach out. This is certainly something that we can help you with, but you want to make sure that your creative is, one, clear and concise, and entirely shoppable, and as well relevant. And you also don't want to have any of those conflicting offers or competing offers as well. Then as we have a look at some of those creative concepts, one of the things that we like to look at is how we can improve performance based on what we're seeing in the ad account. And so when it comes to preparing that content, we typically look at what we call big and little swings. So concepts that look too similar with only slight variations will be treated equally by the algorithm. So a really great example is what you're seeing on the screen. This is what LSKD did a few years ago. They had what you're seeing in terms of that little swing. So we have variation 1. If it performs really well, then we only want to do a slight variation to that variation 1. If it's not performing as well, then we tend to look at doing what we call a big swing. And so something that is fundamentally different, still aligned with the sale, but enough of a difference to really kick things into gear and get that algorithm pushing that ad out and into a new auction. One of the things I think we see, this is across BAU ads as well, is brands not designing for the interface. I know this is basic, but really it is the most fundamental and basic components that really set every single brand up for success. It's not about doing all of the things, the gimmicks, the tricks, the hacks. It's about getting the foundations right and in place. And so make sure that you are designing for the interface. It's really important to note that if you are not, then you could have hidden CTAs. You could have cropped images. And so really make sure that you're looking at this, especially across reels and stories. This is where we see it become most problematic for brands. Also, you want to make sure that it's a really good user experience. So creating that creative specifically for the placement and where it's going to end up. Also, from a performance perspective, we see that it has just much better performance, and ensuring that we are obviously driving the best customer experience, and then also ensuring that creative is actually positioned to convert based on the placement. And this is a bit of a no-brainer, but I wanted to include it anyway. Look at leveraging all of those ad formats as well. So having that creative diversity is really important. It's going to allow you to take advantage of more ad placements while appealing to a wider audience segment. This will actually enable you to maximize and reach your full potential and ensure that your advertising costs are spent effectively. So really important, just look at testing this. One of the things I guess in terms of performance that we see work really well, obviously anything with motion, so short form videos, long form videos tend to work really well. And as I mentioned, looking at leveraging ad formats like collection ads as well, site links and products as a feature tend to perform really well as well. And then as we move into the final component of the framework around optimization. And so once campaigns are live, your focus really shifts to setup and control. So you want to really have a look at optimizing and protecting performance. So spotting what's working, what's not working, and ensuring that you're in that ad account daily. Do not set and forget. Black Friday, Cyber Monday is not a time to pull away. You want to review your data as early as possible, start reallocating budget to your top performing campaigns, turn off what's not working and what's underperforming. And then pause or adjust anything that you need based on the data that you're seeing coming through. And you also want to make sure that you're addressing any site or ad issues immediately. Now, I'm very mindful of time and I've still got to run through email, so I'm going to go through this as quick as possible. So on the email and SMS front, one of the things to mention when we're looking at each of these channels is that we want to ensure that there is cross-channel synergy. So the messaging that someone is receiving when they're looking at a ad on Meta or Google, we want to make sure that there's that cross-channel synergy in terms of what they're seeing across each of these channels, including email and SMS. Now, as we have a look at the checklist for email, there's a lot of things that we like to dive into. And this is very high level, so please keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that every brand is different and context matters. But email, we really do like to look at that as the most foundational component of what brands do as they go into Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We're looking at always on flows and also looking at optimizing those flows with Black Friday, Cyber Monday messaging as well. And so the first place that we start with all brands is we're looking at deliverability. Now, if you're a brand that hasn't done list clean in the last year, then that's problematic, and we should definitely talk, because list health is absolutely paramount. You need to clean out invalid or inactive contacts, especially before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, so you're not damaging your sender reputation, especially when it matters most. You also want to continue to focus on list growth. I'm going to unpack this just a little bit in terms of the strategies that we implement just to improve that list growth over the Black Friday, Cyber Monday period. But we want to switch off the BAU pop-ups, test hype pop-ups, make sure that your on-site forms match your sale messaging as well. We also want to have a look at the existing automation. So clone your key flows, the key and highest revenue driving email automations or flows of the welcome, the browse, abandoned checkout, post-purchase, and customer win back. Now, when it comes to cloning over those flows, we typically clone the welcome, the browse, and the abandon, and then we want to actually update that with Black Friday, Cyber Monday messaging. Add a bit of urgency, remove any conflicting offers, and then pause anything that is non-essential. And then we want to have a look at the send strategy. So yes, every brand is going to be hitting the master list, but ensure that you're doing it strategically. This is why your list clean before Black Friday, Cyber Monday is so important. You want to focus on your 180 and 365-day engaged segments and scale up and down based on performance. And then finally, design and testing. This is so important. Dark mode, mobile optimization, test everything before sending with an external platform. We like to use Litmus. The amount of brands that are actually testing their email campaigns by sending it to themselves or sending it to a colleague completely misses the 90 different placements that your email campaigns can actually show up. So this is just very high level and really the best place for brands to start.
No.
And then as we move on looking at prioritizing. Someone muted me, I'm back. As you can see, we've got some examples of those Black Friday, Cyber Monday pop-ups that we created for some of the brands that we've worked with. It's really important to continue to drive list growth. Obviously, that is the lifeblood for any business, the database. And so just ensuring that it's updated, reflective of the current offers. You want to make sure all of your BAU stuff is turned off. And then just make sure that it gets turned back on post-sale as well. So the way that we like to look at this is pre-sale and launch, looking at that lead gen component and driving consumers into the database. And then we also want to have a look at who we're offering early access to, new signups. We also want to look at encouraging loyalty if that's an option. And then we move into pre-Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So switching off those BAU pop-ups and then testing hype pop-ups. And then we go straight into Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We want to make sure that we've got those on-site pop-ups. They're mirroring the sale messaging across paid ads and also the site. There needs to be strong cross-channel synergy. I can't stress that enough. And then again, just updating those core flows, just ensuring that you're removing any of that BAU messaging and then updating it so it's in alignment with the flow, with the Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer. So you want to make sure that you're adding urgency, especially when it comes to any kind of limited stock or any kind of limited offering. And then, as I said before, pause those non-essential automations. That's also really important. Just please make sure that you're auditing all of your automations, anything that is live. You don't want to have conflicting offers out in the market. You want to make it as clear and easy as possible for your consumers to go direct to site and make the purchase. That's the action that you want them to take. And then I've got a few examples of what that looks like for some of the brands that we work with. So just updating some of those core flows, duplicating and then amending the offer so it's reflective of what is on site during the sale. And a few more examples. Homey, incredible results that we generated for them Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all cross-channel strategies as well. Your design is really important. You want to make sure that you're designing and building to best practice and that everything is dark mode optimized and it is also mobile optimized. Ensuring that you're looking at how your campaigns are rendering across those 90 different placements is really, really important. Please do not just test an email campaign by sending it to yourself. Few more examples, you'll get access to this post-call. Some of those pop-up examples as well. Now, if anyone is in a position where they don't actually have any of those strategies in place or would like to improve their existing strategy heading into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, then please feel free to book a strategy call with myself and my team. We're more than happy to lean in, even if it's just to be a bit of a resource and assess what you're doing and see if that's going to actually render some really great results for you on the back end. Cool. I think that next up we've got Kate Massey. I think before we dive in, if anyone has any questions just around email, paid ads, or getting those, offers and strategies in place, please make sure that you're submitting any questions that you have. And then I'll hand it over to the very wonderful Kate Massey.
Thank you, Jess. And what we love about working with Jess and the team is, one, they obviously do beautiful work, but also the team is so data and results obsessed. And so what we're going to do now is change gears a little bit and really dive into how to get your products as discoverable as possible. How do we get as many eyeballs on those products, but really how do we get focused on conversion as well? There is a QR code on the screen that will take you to our Black Friday, Cyber Monday hub with lots of resources and checklists, and that's dropped into the chat as well. I am a general manager of Athos Commerce, and so we are super focused on product discovery. So showing up wherever your shoppers or potential shoppers may be looking, whether that's on offsite channels like Google Shopping, Meta, TikTok, TikTok Shop, and now ChatGPT, as well as on-site. So right product, right shopper, right time. So let's dive into it. So firstly, an interesting piece here. Shoppers are already looking. So Australia Post have said as early as October. We are now in the last week of October. This is where shoppers are already building their wish lists and comparing stores and brands and products leading up to November sales. Now, there's also a study that says 37% of respondents expect promotions to begin on the 28th of October. That was yesterday. And we know for like furniture brands, they go often early, because if you want a dining table because you're hosting the family Christmas, then you want to make sure that that is arriving pre-Christmas as well. And only 19% of shoppers are comfortable waiting until the actual Black Friday, Cyber Monday period to see deals. So we've all been there. We've created our wish list ahead of time. We go and log on Black Friday and we don't find what we want in the right size curve because it's sold out, or color. So, and we know that brands have been going early in previous years. And I think even talking to some brands recently, it's like getting prepared and then making a call when to launch based on what the market is doing and when to double down on some of those campaigns and promotions as well. So I'm going to get really tactical for the next little while and give you some items that you can do between now and peak trade. And peak trade can take us all the way up to like Christmas, Boxing Day, New Year's Day sales as well. So number one thing that we always recommend you should be doing right now is reviewing all of your e-com data, analytics, reporting across your suite of tools that you are using, making sure you've got a really clear view of those sales trends, those customer cohorts, product insights, attribution data, and then take a deep dive right now into how did last Black Friday, Cyber Monday performance go? What were those top categories, those fast-selling SKUs, those trending terms, and effective promotions as well? Now, hopefully everyone has already been doing lots of A/B testing already throughout the year, and really now it's about diving into that data to really optimize for those A/B tests and those learnings across like feed optimization as well as those on-site merchandising strategies. So really make sure everything is fine-tuned on-site for when you are driving that traffic. Check your AI visibility score. So I spoke to a brand yesterday and they mentioned ChatGPT is now in number 36 on their traffic score, right? So pretty low, but it wasn't there 3 months ago. And they also mentioned, well, for some reason, Bing is now at number 5, and that was not showing up before. Bing is driving ChatGPT product discovery. If you do not have a Bing feed set up and your products being optimized into Bing, that is something that I would highly recommend you look at pre-peak right now. I spoke to another brand yesterday and they said none of their traffic is currently coming from ChatGPT and they do not have a Bing feed set up. So we're going to fast track that and turn that around. I'd also recommend booking a session with your tech providers now to really dive into all of your analytics and reporting, get those learnings, get a strategy in place. And as Jess was also mentioning, making sure that we're monitoring that data and throughout the peak trade at least daily. So number 2, audit your feeds. So make sure that you've completed a Google feed audit. If you need some help with that, reach out. What we're really looking for here is where are there gaps where we can really start to look at quick wins and fixing any potential GMC disapprovals. So things to look for is gaps in title structures, product type optimizations. I'm going to dive into that a little bit more. And then missing attributes that will really boost your feed quality and enhance performance. So the more attribute rich your feed is, the more you're going to get visibility during peak trade. We know the cost of paid is about to go up and skyrocket. So you want to make sure that that feed is as relevant as possible. And then making sure that you're optimizing for agentic commerce, including things like seasonal, trending, and promotional terms as well. Call out here. So errors and inconsistency, missing values in your product data will undermine even the best AI model. So you can fix some of your missing attributes with AI, but you've got to get the product data in a really healthy format. This is now foundational. So previously we hear a lot of, we know our data's a mess. We know our data's horrible. We'll get to it at some point. Data is so important right now to make sure that it is driving visibility, relevance, and personalization as well, and making sure that that data is really consistent too. So number 3, product feed optimization. So we work with a lot of retailers and brands on really optimizing their feed. Key things to start looking at when we start really kind of diving into the detail here is title structures, SKUs, making sure that those feeds are fine-tuned for each individual channel. Every channel is not the same, and every channel has their different spec formats and best practices. For example, Google Shopping, product title structures, 150 characters. The first 75 characters are the most important. And so making sure that we are super relevant for channels, but also for regions. I grew up in New Zealand, so I call them jandals, right? So if I'm searching, you got to be looking at like how are different shoppers searching for different product types, as well as then starting to look at, do you have a series of underperforming or low margin products and having separate SKUs for them? So last December, January, for a fashion brand, we segmented out zombie low impression SKUs for this fashion brand, ones that weren't getting any light of day, any traction on them, by having a separate zombie campaign running, 126K of revenue generated. Now, what would 126K of additional revenue from low performing or no performing SKUs mean for your Black Friday success and achieving your targets this year? We also highly recommend switching to custom labels from product types for more granular control over campaigns, allowing you to segment products based on criteria like seasonality, performance, or Carla's favorite one, profit margin as well. So let's talk about your hidden growth lever. So product type attribute. This is one thing that is creating significant revenue gains, clicks, impressions. What Google Shopping recommend is having 3 to 5 nodes. Most product feeds that we audit only have 1 node. This is adding relevant terms, including things like brand, gender, size, color, product type, synonyms. So sofa versus couch, you want to come up for both of those, regardless of which one the shopper is using. And then adding things like seasonal terms like Black Friday. Last Black Friday, we did Black Friday beer sales for Dan Murphy, and they absolutely dominated the listings. Things to avoid: misclassifying products. If you have bad data, fix it up. That can lead to lower performance. Just copying like title attributes, that's not going to help with your product type. Also using really broad terms like clothing. You've got to go really like how a shopper's actually searching and making sure that you're aligning your product type strategy to that as well. And Google doesn't like to be tricked like the rest of us, so no keyword stuffing. That's going to have a negative impact on performance. We then strongly recommend, and we work with clients regularly on testing all of these strategies to really see what is going to move the needle. So how do you test different product title structures, product images, what product images perform best on what channels, and then product types to see what is actually going to increase visibility, clicks, return on ad spend. However, as we're going into peak, once you do start to hit that peak, and peak goes early or late depending on the brand, but once you hit that peak, once you start really elevating that spend and driving more traffic to site, we strongly recommend pausing all of those A/B tests. You should then be optimized and really leaning into those best practices as well. So let's have a look at some of this data, and real data, real results. So one of our title experiment optimizations we did for a brand recently, we added brand name. Their existing title structures didn't have brand name. We added it and saw a 34% impression count, a 40% increase on revenue. Then if we look at another one, jeans versus jean, one of our clients had slim fit jean, which was an exact take from their website product title listing into their Google Shopping listing. We changed that to jeans, 62% impression count, 58% increase in click count, and 85% increase in revenue. That is a 1 letter change. Then if we look at product type experiments, so really leaning into this 5 nodes, for one of our homewares clients, fitted sheets, they had blank product types. We added product type optimization, 51% increased conversion rate, and 294% increase in revenue. So again, real data, real results, small changes that move the dial in a really big way. For a multi-brand retailer, we worked with them around what SKUs and categories perform really well for Mother's Day, adding Mother's Day seasonal terms into their product types, or 25% impression count increase and a 66% increase in revenue as well. And then lastly, so driving all that great traffic then to site, and what we really want to do is make it as easy for shoppers to find what they need and what they didn't know they also wanted. So some quick things that you should be thinking about and actioning right now is auditing your on-site experience, shopping your site, testing your top search terms and collections, making sure the most relevant products are coming up, making sure you've got dynamic merchandising that's really going to make sure that your best sellers, your top performers that have got good stock, good size curve availability, high margin, are all going to be like merchandising themselves up the results and down in the results when they start to go below a certain stock or size curve threshold as well. Then scheduling those promotional banners on site, we make it really easy to be able to drop in things like inline banners that talk about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, promotions, offers. We also strongly recommend on your sale pages, if you're not on a site-wide sale, encouraging those inline banners to take traffic back through to your new arrivals collection. Usually they're either full price or a lower discount as well. And then also encourage and sign up to those VIP rewards and loyalty programs too. And then driving urgency through badges. So things like selling fast, almost gone, final hours, all things that are going to encourage that shopper behavior. And then lastly, fine-tune that cross-sell and upsell strategies as well, looking at what products are you recommending, making sure that they have good stock, good size curve availability, including those mini carts, accessory items to drive that AOV piece as well. We want that AOV as high as possible. Also recommend tagging your high margin products and then automatically boosting them throughout your search results, your collections, and in those product recommendations during a sale period as well. So last checklist, so there's a QR code again on the screen, so feel free to grab that. Takes you through in a bit more detail some of those steps, and if we kind of leave you with one thing, so it's really important this peak season is not about the biggest discount. It's about being visible, relevant, and easy to buy from. And let me now pass you over to the wonderful Carla. Again, if you do have questions, QR codes on the screen, reach out afterwards. We see some are going in chat as well, and we'll share this content afterwards. So Carla, wrap us up.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kate. Great content as always from yourself and Jess. I wanted to share with you all a few tips on how to profit in peak, and of course on a last minute basis. Also very conscious of time, but also wanted to share that Profit Peak is a profit optimization platform. So we're an AI embedded tool that synthesizes all the data in your business, from marketing to CRM, to retention, to new customer acquisition, and then very importantly into inventory and inventory forecasting to help you drive more profitable results each and every day. And we do this as well through a bunch of automations which feed back into great feed tools as well, merchandising tools like Athos Commerce, and work really closely with agencies to implement great strategies, work very closely with Evocative as well. But really where I wanted to start is that revenue growth isn't always ROI. And I think this is a mistake a lot of businesses make, especially in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, when they set these really lofty revenue targets and they think they've hit their revenue target. But when the month end closes and it's time to order more inventory before Chinese New Year in January, and they realize there's not very much cash in the bank, and that's often caused because there was a drop in profitability during the peak trade. And that's why it's really important to consider what is ROI for your business this Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I encourage everyone to set a contribution profit ROI level for their business. In terms of what contribution profit is, that is your net revenue, less the cost of goods sold, so the product costs that you're selling, less all the variable expenses in your business. Variable expenses are things like shipping, merchant fees, advertising costs, anything that varies with revenue. That helps you get to what's called contribution profit. And the only way to really influence this number is, as Kate said, with higher AOV, higher margins, which means less discounting or prioritizing what you discount and where it shows up in the funnel, or lowering cost of goods sold or lowering CAC. Now, obviously, we are a few weeks out from Black Friday, Cyber Monday, so the ability to lower CAC and lower cost of goods sold is virtually impossible. So you need to focus on AOV and margins. And this is a great example. Here, 3 products have the same ROAS, they have the same margin, the same CAC, the same variable expenses, but a very, very different profit profile. And that's why we constantly say a profit peak, that scaling for profit, not ROAS, should be every single business's priority. And the best way to do that is to align your product and advertising data in a single platform and create a scaling flywheel. A great quote this week from Jess Skinner, Director of E-commerce and Marketing Global for Frankie 4. She was telling us how much she loves the tool because she's able to bring ad spend and stock on hand in alignment and really drill into missed marketing opportunities for what's called their B-class products in Profit Peak. For them, it's been a game changer for their daily and weekly trade optimizations because converting some of your slower moving products that aren't getting airtime in the ad platforms into cash allows you as a business to scale your best performers and always keep them in stock. So when I talk about scaling, you should really be prioritizing the right products. Here is a great example. I'm sorry, LSKD, if you're on the call, but this was in Black Friday, Cyber Monday last year, and they were driving all this great ad budget to this pair of tights that I really wanted, but it was only available in a 2XS. And unfortunately, that's not my size. And that is why it's really important to start segmenting your inventory into classes. So we talk about this and we have this dynamically segmented for our customers within Profit Peak. A-class products, those are businesses' best performers. You don't need Profit Peak to do this. You could do this in a spreadsheet. Good luck. It's a bit of a task. But what actually is defined as a best performer are those products with high conversion rates, high stock on hand, high profit, and what's really important, which we've all touched on, is all variants in stock. In this hyper buying period where customers feel like they're running out of time to secure what they need off their Black Friday, Cyber Monday shopping list, out of stock variants lead to bounces. Customers aren't looking to do further product discovery in the heat of the moment when coupon codes are expiring. They want to land on products that are in stock in their size. And so these products are typically 20% of your inventory assortment, but they actually drive 70% of your profit and revenue. And these are the products that you should be over-indexing on in ad spend during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all year. It's also where you should be over-indexing on in terms of cash flow as well when it comes to January buying ahead of Chinese New Year factory closures. Then you have your B-class contenders. Jess referenced these in the prior quote. For Frankie 4, these are your low sessions and high conversion rate products. They're also often high profit products. They have low advertising spend, and your best variants are in stock. So one of the other great use cases of your data is actually understanding across the different products in your assortment. If you do have a size curve, the most popular sizes may actually be different for different products. So if you're selling maxi dresses, your best-selling sizes may skew towards medium and large. And if you're selling mini dresses, it may skew towards small and extra small. So your best-selling variants are actually different often in a business with size curves. And when it comes to how to manage your B-class products, you should look at how you can use it for cross-selling. How can you drive higher AOV if you get these not necessarily bestsellers, but next bestsellers in the cart? Also, from an inventory management perspective, how can you create more stock turns in this inventory? Because cash is king in every business and you need positive cash flow to continue reinvesting in newness and also best-selling products not going out of stock. These products typically are 50% of your product assortment, so it's a big chunk of the business's cash flow, yet it only tends to drive 20% of profitability and revenue. Then you have what I call your C and dead class, D. These are products you need to turn into cash. There is no better time than Black Friday and Cyber Monday to segment these products out and turn them into cash. The quicker you turn them into cash, the better, because in January, no one is wanting to buy coats unless they're planning a trip to go skiing or to the US or Europe. And that's a very small segment of the market wanting to leave Sydney or Australian summer, right? So now is the time to actually get those products segmented out and turned into cash. Unfortunately, for a lot of brands, this is actually 30% of the products in your inventory assortment, and it's driving as little as 10% of your revenue and profit. How do you identify them? Low sessions, low conversion rates, low profit, low advertising spend investment, and often very broken size curves. A great use case we've seen with one of our customers, actually a few now have implemented it, but actually segmenting your sale, your C and D class products into what is available in a full size curve, what is available in a popular broken size curve, and what is available in a really unpopular broken size curve. So then you're also not over indexing your budget on products that potentially, even with a good discount, are still going to be low conversion rate drivers and low results. And what we've seen and what I've experienced firsthand running my own e-commerce businesses for over a decade is the number one reason an e-commerce business's growth stalls is because your best sellers are all out of stock and all your size curves are broken. So customers are constantly clicking ads, landing and abandoning. And it's a very, very hard place to be. And that's why we have found it's really, really important to be across what are the revenue and profit drivers in your business? What are the stock on hand of those products? Are they new or return customer acquisition anchor products? And how to place them in the funnel to get the best results. A great use case as well within Profit Peak using Sherpa AI is to actually build purchase orders on the fly to keep all those best sellers in stock at all times. Quick case study. I'm hoping Lily or Michael are on the call. Serafina is a wonderful client of ours, a great fashion brand based in Adelaide. In 21 days, they managed to achieve a 43% uplift in contribution profit using Profit Peak. And we see on average, this sits at around 22% for all of our clients. We were also able to review over $1 billion of data that ran through our environment last year across Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And when we reviewed the data, we found 4 key insights that we wanted to share with you today. One is that traffic was cheapest on TikTok. So if you're looking at acquiring customers still heavily going into the month of November, and TikTok is the right channel for you, you should definitely be looking at investment there. Another insight was Friday was the strongest trade day. I like pointing this out because Australia Post often talks about Monday being the strongest trade day. Absolutely, if you're shipping freight, Monday is a great day. But if you're acquiring and converting customers, Friday is the day for you. We also found that customers that were won back happened within 70 days. Now, that is not a very long window. So if you're thinking about your win-back campaigns that you currently have in place, are they actually going to be triggered 70 days from Black Friday, Cyber Monday purchase, or are they only going to kick in 90 days or 180 days later? And the reason that is so important is because this is the most expensive time to acquire customers. And our data shows that only 16% of customers who were acquired during Black Friday, Cyber Monday actually repeat purchase. And this is Australian data. If you want to tap into any more of our data, please feel free to use this QR code, download it here, and you'll get access to all the insights we collected from our Australian brands. I just wanted to give you a few takeaways very quickly before I wrap up. Remember that profitability is measured at the contribution margin line. So when you're setting budget, start with profit, not just a top line revenue number, because anyone can achieve revenue on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but it could be the reason you need debt next year to finance your next shipment of stock, or it could be a reason that you're going out of business. ROAS doesn't tell you anything about company performance, so please start measuring at the profit line. Manage inventory and ads together if you really want to scale. Your ads drive inventory demand. So if you're not looking at the data together, you're siloing these teams, you can't really be scaling your business. And Black Friday, Cyber Monday is also about retention. I think so much focus goes towards acquisition, and that's why only 16% of our customers return at the most expensive time to acquire them. So start thinking about the retention strategies that you can put into place so that you're not another statistic, you're actually an outlier, an outperformer in market. And I hope this was a really, really jam-packed, insight-rich session for you all ahead of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I know Kate, Jess, and I all wish you the very best with upcoming trade. Please do submit any questions you have. We will come back to you and answer them. Give us a day or two because there might be a few, but it was really great to see so many familiar faces join the call. And best of luck with upcoming trade. Thanks so much.
Thank you, team. Great to see everyone today.
Thanks, everyone.